I think the teams that I think find it the most difficult at times in the Champions League, I think are the ones who are very, very, very familiar with winning and winning comfortably. Because it's to then, for instance, Liverpool come to town, and Liverpool might actually be an extreme example that helps the coach. But it's hard for the coach to say, lads, it's young boys, but that means we've got to work twice as hard and we've got
Yeah,
to show more discipline because there's something in the back of the players' minds, which is, well, it's young boys and we're used to winning.
yeah.
Liverpool might actually be not the. It's interesting. I want to talk about the four fixtures that follow this in a second in the Champions League for Galatasaray. But Liverpool might not be the worst thing in the world because there's a chance Galatasaray treat Liverpool like Liverpool,
Yes,
and every single
that's
player has something
yes,
to prove. Do you think that's
yes.
fair?
Exactly. That is very fair because we saw exactly that a couple of years ago in the Champions League when they were playing your good friends from up north, Manchester, Man United. So we did see that's the season that they didn't manage to get out of the group stages, and they Copenhagen were actually above them that season. But what we did see is against Man United, where the players were extremely motivated. Like you
Yeah,
just pointed out, it is Man United, it is Liverpool, it is Paris Saint Germain, it is Real Madrid, it is Juventus. Against those sort of clubs, you can have two effects. You can have okay, those clubs are just too good and they're going to punish them, or these players are extremely motivated and they're going to give it their all and they're actually going to eke out a result. And of course, against like a Man United a couple of years ago under Eric Ten Hag, huge name in European football,
yeah.
just like Liverpool, but not the best team. Unlike Liverpool right now, and that's I think what that for them the motivation was really high. Eric Ten Hag's Man United weren't really up to snuff, so that was a team they smelled blood and they could get them. So I definitely do think that if we're gonna see the best Galatasaray this season, it's gonna be against a team like Liverpool. But if Liverpool play at their best, I don't see them having a
Yeah.
chance because the way Galatasaray play with their high intense press, it works out really well in Turkey because the gaps, the pockets they leave in behind don't get exploited. But a team that plays at a very high tempo like Liverpool is very easily going to exploit those pockets of space that arise from the pressing. Because if one of those players doesn't follow the chain correctly, there's just a big pocket of space that Liverpool can exploit, and they can do so lethally.
I want to talk about that. Go back to that first game because it's interesting that I recognise a couple of the names, seen them play on a number of occasions. Leroy Sané, for instance, features in Frankfurt. Lucas Torreira, Ilkay Gundogan, Mario Lemina, Davinson Sanchez. These are all footballers that I've seen
Yeah.
play against Liverpool.
Hmm.
But the one I want to talk about, who could be important tactically, is the signing over the summer. Comes in for a lot of money. Wilfred Singo from Monaco. He could be important. You're talking about those gaps being left, whether or not whether or not Galatasaray go with a back three or a back four. Um, Singo's pace, covering, strength,
Mm.
speed, what he can bring could be very very important in the game. How's he settled in?
Well, that's the thing. I think he's kind of not settled quite yet, and that's what we saw against Frankfurt, where I believe, he made his debut against Frankfurt, and they dropped Abdul Kerim Bardakçı, who was their starter beforehand, and also Turkish international. And Galatasaray fans and pundits alike were kind of puzzled by the decision to drop him right before that game against Frankfurt and put Singo in there because he hadn't really quite partnered with Davinson Sanchez yet. Like they
Yeah,
hadn't really built up the chemistry. And as we know, when you transfer players, attackers they mainly thrive on instinct, and it's easier to put them into a new
yeah,
side. And it's hard. It's not that hard for them to get accustomed to new teammates and all that kind of stuff because tactically what they have to do is more limited, I guess, than what a defender has to do. But when you drop in a defender cold turkey like that next to a new partner, it can turn out both ways. They can have instant chemistry, which I think is rare, or it can work out a little not so well. And I think that's kind of what happened against Frankfurt, where they were playing a good game first half, and then suddenly they conceded again, and they conceded again, and it was like a roller coaster where they
yeah.
went from heaven to hell in the span of a couple of minutes. And I think in the long term, he could definitely make a very good, solid partnership with Davinson Sanchez. I just think it probably will lead a little bit longer. But who knows? I mean, concentration will be really high, you'd imagine, against a side like Liverpool because they will want to show themselves.
So what are we expecting from the lineup then? He was, as I say, on Friday, it was a back three, but it was also a fair few changes from the side. It's worth saying Osherman obviously will be talked about in the run up to this game. He only got a few minutes. He's been coming back from a muscular injury, so whether or not he
Hmm.
starts on Tuesday could be a little bit up in the air. What sort of team are you expecting?
Yeah, the pressure to play him is pretty big
Yeah,
because obviously he's their all-time record signing, is the all-time record signing of the Turkish league in general, and not by a little bit. I mean, I think he cost like 3 times as much as the second most expensive player ever to be signed to the Turkish league. So I think we'll probably see the same back four, I imagine. It's possible that Singo moves into the center instead of Bardakci, but I think we'll probably see him start at right back. Eren Elmalı, Turkish international, on the left back. I think we'll see them Bardakci and Sanchez in the middle. Uğurcan Çakır, their new goalkeeper signing, will undoubtedly be the starting goalkeeper. And then in midfield, I think Torreira and his partner is going to be interesting. This Friday he played Sane in the center on the 10.
yeah.
But I expect he'll probably be starting out wide and maybe Sarah on the 10. And then I'm not quite sure who that Okan Buruk will probably go for that double pivot in midfield because I doubt he'll put Sarah as a double pivot because Sarah's a little bit more of an attacking midfielder, less defensively solid. So I'm not quite sure who they're gonna go with there. And then the question is mainly the striker, and I suspect they'll go probably with Icardi, with Mauro Icardi, because obviously Osimhen isn't fully fit yet. He got injured in an international game for Nigeria,